Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, OOTPers, fans of baseball, real simulation. Welcome all in. Laptop Hound here. Thank you so much for OOTP Developments for the raid. How's your Thursday going? Wait a minute, it's not Thursday. I'm thinking of Twipped. No, it is the Tuesday Treasure Trove. Even better than Thursday because these are cards that many of us love to see. It's like Christmas morning every time those lower level cards come out. And I know some of you are thinking, but Lap, it's the end of the cycle. We're going to stop playing in 2 or 3 weeks. And I'm like, I don't care if you stop playing. It's like when grandma buys you, when you're young and grandma buys you a shirt that's almost too small because you're going to grow out of it very, very soon. You just throw it back in grandma's face and say, I don't want it, grandma. It won't fit in 2 weeks. No, you wear it until you can no longer wear it anymore. That's what these cards are as they come out late in the cycle. Still going to get good use out of them, going to enjoy them. And there were some doozies today. We're going to bring in D-Block in just a minute here and talk about some of those cards. Good to see Chess Safari in the house. GT Sundown, my Expos GM. Sean Soul 10 is here. Kurzov 22. Boiled Egg. Yeah, I know you're going through some hockey withdrawals, aren't you? We weren't on the last couple of weeks because of logistics and snow and travel by some of the panel, but we're on next Monday night with the trade deadline show because the trade deadline in the NHL is coming up very, very soon. So if you watch hockey, what moves are your team going to make in the next week or so? Who else do we have here? I think that's all I saw in the chat. So yeah, we're going to get started right away. We're going to raid over into Dr. Dynastic in about 90 minutes. So a little bit of a shorter stream because of the Tuesday Treasure Trove, but lots of good stuff coming up. Before we bring in D-Block, though, have you guys heard there's a new game coming out, a new version? I don't know. Maybe you've been sleeping for the last couple weeks, but yeah, OOTP 25 is coming out very, very soon, and we're starting to get the road to release now with different shows, different episodes, and we're kind of just getting rolling with that. Did you catch the great interview yesterday? Dr. Dynastic and Marcus Heinsohn on YouTube. Let me drop that in the chat here because it wasn't on Twitch. It was only on YouTube. So you might want to, go and watch that a little bit later. It's only about 25 minutes. And not a lot of earth-breaking things in terms of reveal. There were a few things, a little bit of nuggets that were new for you theme teamers out there. Marcus said that he personally worked on constructing kind of a theme team component to the coding. We don't know exactly what that's like. He was pretty tight-lipped and said that'll come along later on. He also, the other big thing for me was talking about team chemistry between players and coaches. And he said, not only in the franchise mode, but also in perfect team. So there you go. We might start to see somehow in perfect team a chemistry system being used where the cards on your team are going to perform better or worse based on their teammates. Does that mean teammates they played with in the past? Does that mean similar ratings? Does that mean similar eras that they were from? We don't know. Yeah, we don't know. So both the solo and the perfect team going to get some sort of impact with chemistry. A couple other things. He talked about new animations, which are great because when we watch the highlights, whether Dr. Dynastic does it or I do it or Rob Dishnet does it, it's always nice to see some new animations come in. I want to see someone jump up and catch a ball when you think it's a home run. Because right now, when that ball is going towards the fence, you know it's a home run because there's no animation that shows a fantastic catch at the wall. So hopefully we'll see, some new stuff there. He also mentioned that we're going to start to see or be able to watch highlights in different formats, not just different camera angles, but different eras. maybe the sepia mode, maybe the black and white mode, with the different television sets. And we saw that kind of teased in their press release last week, where they showed one image here with the black and white camera. So he did kind of mention that briefly too. Plus a few other things. He talked about his favorite teams, what he likes to play in terms of, base game. He talks about his play with perfect team. So yeah, go check that out in the link that I posted there. Uh, pretty cool. Marcus does this every year with his introduction of the new game, and his hair just gets longer and more gelled up. Marcus, if you're listening, we love you. But yeah, quite the hairdo there between Dr. Dynastic and Marcus. Like, there's no synchronicity there. It's like polar opposites in terms of the hairdo. But yeah, great interview. And tomorrow is the next interview. I believe Dr. Dynastic will be interviewing the devs to deal with the franchise aspect. So I expect we're going to see a lot more details tomorrow about the franchise mode, maybe some more screenshots, deeper dive into what franchise mode will be. And then we got kind of a week to wait, because the next road to release interview is not until March 6th with the Baseball Hall of Fame aspect, the partnership. I'm expecting maybe Rich Grisham will be part of that broadcast. And then the one that us perfect teamers have been waiting and waiting and waiting for. Spore, tell us about the new stuff. Show us the new card art. Who's going to be a part of this intro set and this inaugural batch of cards? Who is going to be the next Dave Kingman for OOTP 25? So we'll find that out in less than 2 weeks' time, March the 11th. All these future broadcasts are on Twitch, starting at either 8 p.m. Eastern or 9 p.m. Eastern. And there may be even some other surprise broadcasts sprinkled in. They kind of did hint at that. There may be some other things along the way too. So yeah, we got started with that yesterday. Marcus, Dr. Dynastic, go check that out on YouTube. One more time, we'll put the link in for you guys. Okay, another quick update here. The Laptop Daily, before we get going, we've got 4 more tournaments before we award the top prize of 20 packs, and then 5 packs for a random winner. 4 more days. So March the 1st is the last day to qualify. So that'll be on Friday. Friday stream, I'll be covering a lot of the final Laptop Daily. It's not the final. It's still going to be on the program, but it's the final one that I'm going to be giving out 20 packs, because the new game comes out in the middle of the month, and that's when we kind of switch giveaways from the old packs to the new packs. So we can't really continue till the end of March if we can't give out packs at the end of March, if you know what I mean. So congratulations to Wolfman56, currently in first place with 16 points. Those Mill Basin Yankees are always contenders, 12 points. 68 Pirates and his Central Kentucky Pirates sitting in third. And then Music Lessons, Warbot, Cavacom, Wildcat Bandit, Sporer, the Manchester Worker Bees, and GT Sundown, rounding out the top 10. Yesterday, it's always good to see some new teams. I've never seen this team before. The Twin Peak Steeplejacks. So they won it yesterday. And another fairly new team I haven't seen much of is the Pittsford Blue Bombers. So they finished first and second yesterday. And Ezra Denny, our very own affiliate streamer, shout out to Ezra. His Starfleet Red Shirts finished third in the tournament. And then Mucha Fat Cat. So we had 3 new teams and Ezra. Ezra was the veteran of the Final Four yesterday. So good stuff. Again, we got 4 more tournaments, including today. And we might as well kind of bring up very quickly what's going on in today's tournament. So here we are right here. We've got, I lost out to the team currently in 4th place right now in round 1, the Central Kentucky Pirates. I can't beat this team. Every time I come, I don't think I beat them once. They always seem to knock me out in round 1 or 2. So 68 Pirate, if you're listening, well done. You have my number for sure. And we're currently in round 3, just starting off round 3. The Skunks, the Yankees, the Blue Hornets against the Sound Tigers, Beetle Boys, Nasty Boys taking on Warbots, Escape from New York, Makadkar, who's been kind of quiet in these tournaments recently. Haven't seen a lot of Makadkar in the top four, but yeah, he's one of the top players. He's taken on another up-and-comer here, Music Lessons. We got D. Dempsey, the only person to finish every single mission in this game, at least when I checked yesterday. It's weird. He had every mission, and then we had like 30 people one mission short. I still don't know what that mission is that he has an extra one on. We got Bautista, which is run by Leo Remus, another Canadian. They're facing off against each other. We got another Yankee team, Mill Basin, against those Central Kentucky Pirates. The Michigan Wolves against the Spiders, the Typhoon against the Dodgers. This right-hand side of the bracket, man, that's a killer side. Some good teams lost out in the first two rounds, including Sporer, including D-Block, including myself, including Wildcat Bandit here, Lord Christic. So yeah, there's that right side of the bracket was a killer today. So again, go play it out for the next little while. Try it out, because the cards we're going to talk about today, a lot of those cards can be used in this tournament here if they're bronze and iron. The Laptop Pound Lower Level Leisure Lounge. All right, time to bring on my co-host today. We're going to talk treasure trove cards all the way from Marcus's homeland, Germany. Back on the show, D-Block. How you doing?
Well, I'm still a little sick.
Are you?
Yeah.
You sounded a little better on your Sunday stream. Are you at least getting a little?
But yeah, I think that stream. I don't know if that really hurt me. But since yesterday, my voice is basically gone. Yeah.
Oh no! Oh no! Well, if you have to use sign language or talk very briefly.
Yeah. I still have my fingers. Yeah, and it doesn't help that. First in the early bronze final, I was up 3-1 and still lost. And now in the 5L against D. Dempsey, I was up 3-1 and I still lost. So it doesn't help.
Oh, man. Well, you and I, it's no secret. We're part of the crew that loves these lower level tournaments and cards at the lower level. We play these bronze brunches and dinner plans. We've kind of had that as our running theme for those two tournaments. So as we go through today's cards, we're going to kind of focus on those tournaments because, we don't play a lot of caps, at least I don't. And we're not expert on every single lower level type of tournament, but we are fairly good at the quicks. We're fairly good at these non-limited edition kind of tournaments. And we'll go through. So did you watch the interview last night?
I watched it today.
Oh, what did you take out of what was said?
Well, yeah, kind of like the information that you already presented there. I thought it was the amount of information that I expected, not too much, but there were some nuggets in there. I think that chemistry thing will be very interesting. How that will be implemented in Perfect Team. If kind of like if you have like players from the same country giving a boost or something like that, or the same former teammates or something like that, we don't know, but that could be very interesting, and maybe not so much for us that we do not use models, but that would probably a thing for the modelers to get one up on us.
Yeah.
At least if
I give credit to a Dr. Dynastic who tried to push Marcus into revealing a few extra things, and there were a few times that Marcus said, "Oh, I can't really talk about that. That'll come out later." And I'm like, "Oh man, good try there, Dr. Dynastic, but we're gonna have to wait." I expect tomorrow we're gonna get a bunch of new information when they talk about the franchise mode.
I hope so.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's get on to the cards.
All right.
I kind of watched briefly. I was kind of putting the slides together as the cards were being shown, so I haven't looked at them very, very carefully here. So I'm gonna trust you to be more the expert on these. But from what I saw in chat, there were a lot of good comments. There were a lot of positive comments about a lot of these cards. So I think we're going to see some of these that we can get excited about. For those of you that have been following us when we've done our roundtable and talked about these lower level tournaments, we're focusing on the Bronze Brunch. And right now in the Bronze Brunch, let me just bring that up because it's currently going on. I don't know how you're doing there in today's, but I'm doing fairly well. I beat out Copenhagen. I beat out the Jokerfish, who kills me in the 5L. I beat out the Pink Elephants. Yasuiji, I beat
SOEG.
out the Arrows. And I am one game down in the semifinals to BG Leaves right now. So yeah, having some success, but as you know, D Block, every day is a different day, and you can go out in round one and you can win the whole tournament the next day. But as long as you're consistent, and both of us are fairly consistent in
Yeah.
how we do in this tournament. So if you guys want to get involved in some tournaments, lower level tournaments, they're cheap. You don't need the LEs for this tournament. You can probably get in for a few thousand perfect points and be a competitive team. So let's look at kind of who we're using right now for our pitching staff. Both of us are using 11 pitchers. So maybe just briefly go through yours first.
Well, the Sonny Gray, Castillo, they're kind of like they've been there for quite some time now. I've moved on from the Dontrell Willis to test out the Buckholz. And I moved on from Bartolo to basically test out the Russo. I'm not so keen on the Buckholz, but the Russo, that's probably definitely gonna stay. So I will have that at least two lefties in there. And my my bullpen is pretty solid. I'm not really seeing anything where I move people out of there. I still have today's Steep in there just as an emergency a pitcher. If I have to move in there, if somebody really doesn't have it, has like an 8 ERA or something like that. But with this starting rotation, that has not happened for quite some time now. And and this for me, I think there are better. If you look at some pitchers, there are probably some better pitchers for the bullpen, or some other managers would use other pitchers, but those are the pitchers that are have proven for me that not to blow too many games. That's probably the best way to say it.
And if you guys have any questions in the chat about lower level cards, if you're just starting the game and want more information, we can expand on a little bit. Most of you guys in the chat that play these tournaments, you kind of have a good handle on what to use already. One good thing about the bronze tournaments, there were no really, I'm trying to think, I don't think D Block there were any dominant, like there were no LE pitchers that came out for bronze, were there? Like no dominant ones anyway.
Well, in the beginning, the Deshays one was pretty dominant.
Deshay, yeah, Deshay.
And the Eldritch was not that bad either, but he wasn't dominant. But the Deshays was pretty dominant in the beginning when he came out.
Right, yeah. At this point, though, I think even if you include LE, I don't think there's any LEs I would have, except maybe Deshay in the bullpen.
Deshay could still be in here. I don't think he would be in my starting rotation now. Probably.
Yeah.
But
Joe
which one?
Sorry, you broke up there a little bit. Minerva's mentioned Joe Niekro, but Niekro, yeah, he was a limited edition, but I don't know if he was, I never had him, so I never used him. I don't know how dominant he was, but
I don't think he really was.
Yeah. There were a few, I mean, most of the LEs that were dominant were the hitters for bronze anyway. My pitching rotation, again, a lot of similar names. I use 11. I use Castillo. I use Cliff Lee in this tournament as a starter. Some tournaments, I agree with you. He's better suited as a bullpen, as a stopper. So I'm 50-50 where to best use Cliff Lee, but he pitched really well in the 5L. He's one of the top two pitchers in the 5L. So I'm just going with those results in this tournament here. Messersmith, I still use, even though many people have taken him out. I use the Sonny Gray, and I see a lot of people using the Ken Hill. So I've just got him as my number 5 guy. I'm not really sold on him, but that's who I have there. In the bullpen, Burton, I still see as one of the top bullpen guys. I use him as my stopper. And then Timlin is that polarizing card. Some love him, some hate him.
You know that I hate him.
Yeah, I know you don't have him. There is no Mike Timlin on the D block team, but risk reward. And for me, he's been more of a reward than risk in my tournaments. Whitey Ford, David Cohn, and a new card, Giolito, who was meta for months, and then Jonas Gaines that I use. And you and I both know that starting pitchers, you can swap a lot of them from the rotation into the
Ford
bullpen.
Cohn can definitely be in there. Even still, the Giolito, he's maybe not the dominant pitcher that he was for most of the cycle, but he can still be in there and still give you good tournaments. So Ford Cohn, Giolito, no problem of starting them. That Gaines card is a very sneaky one. I don't really know what to make of him yet. I know that he has that he can give you some good tournaments, but I don't trust him really. But
yeah. Blue Void is asking how do you think about pitching roles? I never know what to do with them. Well, I'll kind of show you what I use in today's tournament that's going on right now. I'll kind of show you how I have my pitching set up and show you what their current results are in this tournament. Right now, I'm in the semis up, tied 1-1. It's a best of 5. So as I showed you, these are the pitchers I'm using. Ken Hill, again, is a guy that hasn't pitched in this tournament because I've swept rounds. I haven't had to go to 5 games. He's never had to pitch. So in terms of if you're using a 5-man rotation, and I don't know, D-Block, if you would agree, I would put, if you have 9 starters or 8 starters here, I would put probably the number 8 guy in that 5 slot because he may not pitch much in the tournament. I'd rather have my 5, 6, and 7 guy in the bullpen where they might get some innings than that number 8 guy like Ken Hill, who's not pitching. How do you see your 5 starter? You go with the best, you go with number 5 best guy, or you kind of just
go with the 5 best guys, and then but that is of course because I usually have the time to micromanage, and as with the most tournaments I am awake with the time difference, so I can do the micromanagement there, and I can see if I have to swap them, if I basically can swap them out, if I can swap them for the 8th pusher or not. The thing for me is that right now I only have two real starters in my bullpen, so that's not really the big thing for me right now. I have a lot of real relief pitchers. The Alex Reyes is a starter, but to me, I wouldn't start him. I would start him maybe in the 5L, but not in a normal tournament. So I only have really 2 starter options there to swap in, swap out. So that's not the big deal. If you have, like you yourself, basically have everybody but Burton and Timlin is a starter in your bullpen, then I probably would agree with that. Put maybe your worst or second worst starter as the number 5 spot and use the other ones in the bullpen because they are just better.
Yeah. I think too, it depends on the format of the tournament. Like this is best of 5. If these were best of 7, I would totally put my top 5 because they're more likely to pitch. But a best of 5 where you can get these 3-1, 3-0, then number 5 isn't going to see as much action in a best of 5. But I totally agree. If it was best of 7, absolutely, I'd have my top 5. As we can see here, Blue Void for my rolls, I generally just go with 1 or 2 stoppers. If it's a best of 7, I might have 2 stoppers. Best of 5, I just use 1 again because usually they get some rest. And then I just go all middle relief. And that's something that D Dempsey, who is part of our roundtable, he basically goes all middle relief in the bullpen. So I don't have specific roles, specialists, long relief, anything like that for a short tournament like this. Other tournaments, I might have a setup guy or a long relief or an emergency starter, but not for this specific one here. As you can see,
Yeah.
Cliff Lee, 5-0 in this tournament. That's the risk I'm willing to take with Cliff Lee as a starter, because when you get a good Cliff Lee, you get a dominant Cliff Lee in your tournaments. He's either like 8-0 or he's like 1-4, it seems like, with Cliff Lee. There's no in between. Jared Burton, 4 saves, a 2 ERA, so he's doing his job. He's only pitched 9 innings in 4, 8, 12, 15. In 17 games, he's only pitched 9 innings. So again, in a short tournament, best of 5, I want more innings out of Cliff Lee. So I don't want to put him in the bullpen because I don't want him pitching 9 innings. He's too good to pitch 9 innings, in my opinion. So I want him as a starter in this type of tournament. Best of 7, I probably have him as a stopper.
Yeah, for me, it depends more on what do I have in my bullpen. How big are the differences there? If there's not a lot of difference, I don't think it makes a big difference. It makes sense to define roles really there, as with the setup and closer and all that. In the 5L, for example, that could be very much so that you have. Especially your low iron pitchers there, that you really do not want them to pitch if you can help it, and really define that in that inning I want this one, and that inning I want this one, and as a closer I want that one. That could be very interesting with a setup that Lap has here, that he basically has in the bullpen 5 or 6 people who are on any given day basically the same.
Yeah.
Just make the roles accordingly. If you can't really decide who's the better one, that just means they're all basically the same. And maybe use one stopper that you can get, over the course of tournaments that you can trust them. But even if you don't, if you just put everybody at middle relief, I think that you're going to be fine with that.
For sure. And again, we're just specifically talking about this tournament, which is a 1982 environment. It's a best of 5. Like I said, I've played 17 games, and I've got 3 pitchers that have not entered a game. Ken Hill, nothing. Mike Timlin, nothing. And David Cohn, nothing. So, I could probably go with a 4-man rotation and use a guy as an emergency starter, or I could just drop a pitcher off my staff and have another hitter. I mean, 17 games and 3 of your pitchers have not pitched yet. That's unusual.
Yeah, because you haven't had a single series that went the distance.
Right.
That is the thing there. And what Mark, of course, says is defining the roles helps the fatigue management, exactly. But especially with a tournament like this one here, that you have a best of 5 and 11 pitchers, you rarely run into a big time fatigue issues. That's probably the case when you have like three rounds in a row that you won in game 5. Otherwise, usually with 11, you're pretty sure.
I'm just looking at my opposition and if they've had any 5-game series here. 4 games, 3 games, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they've played a couple early. The BBS. Let's go take a look at the BBS. So yeah, they have a little bit more fatigue issues. They're running only 10 pitchers. All their pitchers have pitched at some point, and their number 5 guy has been in 2 games. So again, he's 1 pitcher short than what we run, and he's played more games than I have. So if he plays a lot of 5-game series, he's going to have fatigue issues only running 10 pitchers for sure. Okay. So again, this tournament here, we're talking about the Bronze Brunch. It's a 1980s kind of environment. And I'll be, what would be perfect in a perfect world on Wednesday, they would announce that they've recoded the roles for the bullpen, especially. And if you have a specialist versus left-handers, you can set him and you can depend that he'll come in versus the left-handers. But right now, the way it works is you can't always depend on your specialist going in when you would want him in. So that's why you say micromanaging can be a lot more effective, obviously, because
Yeah.
depending on your rest and all that, you can bring in specific pitchers. Or hitter wise, you see who they're running as their pitcher. If they're not micromanaging and it's a lefty that's weak in pitcher BABIP, well, you stack your hitters with a lot of BABIP to try and take advantage of that. So micromanaging definitely can have a role. Anything else in the chat here? 99% of the time, I set everything to middle relief. Mark is saying uh, with middle relief with a closer, if you can find one that fits. And Minerva's in the quarterfinals. Minerva and his run lately, him and music lessons. I'm telling you, watch out for them next year. All right. Let's look at the pitchers that were released today and try to determine if they're guys that we would use in the bronze brunch or more of a 5L kind of tournament. We'll kind of look at those two. So we have, you can pronounce his last name for me there, D Block.
Fultonevich.
Okay. Thank you. Ezra is like, oh, please, Lap. Please try and pronounce it, Lap. No. Mike, we had Jose Barrios, Rosie Ryan, and then we had one bullpen guy in Rob Beck. So again, we showed you kind of what we're using in terms of the pitchers. A lot of people run the Castillo, the Cliff Lee. We got the Sonny Gray. Some still run the Messerschmitt. The Clay Buchholz, which D Block is trying out. We got the Russo, who D Block likes even better. The Dallas Braden and the David Cone that we talked about. So those are kind of the benchmark, what we're looking at with these new pitchers. Can they replace any of these guys here as a starter or as a bullpen guy? So let's start with Mike.
Fulty.
A lot of pitcher BABIP. A lot of stuff.
But the control. I mean, he looks completely like a bullpen piece to me.
Yeah.
For normal tournaments, I think he will be an excellent bullpen pitcher.
I'm trying to see if there's a shape kind of similar. The Castillo.
Not really.
He's kind of a poor man's Castillo, right? Castillo's better at pitcher BABIP's, got pretty good stuff, but lower control.
Yeah, but the control. I mean, the control is the big thing there with Fultonevich. If he would be an iron pitcher, I would love him. I would love to start him, but not in bronze. That 39 against lefties, no.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely not as a starter. Absolutely not. I don't trust him as a starter. Maybe when we looked at those cards, again, similar kind of makeup as Messerschmitt, but Messerschmitt is just better. Like, it's just a little higher in everything. So if he can't beat out Messerschmitt, he's not going to. And Messerschmitt is just barely hanging on as kind of one of the guys you need to use.
Yeah, for me, you know me, he's gone for me after that PDCS.
Yeah. Well, but then you can't say Messerschmitt anymore. You can't lose him. So here's a guy that, if you're in the bronze rounds of the 5L and you're not finding any good pitchers in by round 3 or 4, yeah, maybe you throw him in and use him as a bullpen guy. I don't use him as a starter. The control, the splittiness, the stamina.
As a bullpen guy, I really like him as a bullpen guy. I mean, with that stuff, if he doesn't have it, he's going to be gone out of the bullpen pretty soon. So he's not going to make too much damage with his control, but he can give you. He's somebody you can bring in with guys at first and second. Basically, gamble on that he doesn't walk the next guy, but strike the next 3 people out there. And that's what I like from. That's what I would like from him on the bullpen. So he will be somebody. He will be in my bullpen.
If we could trust him as a specialist, he'd be a righty specialist in the bullpen. I think he could do that job fairly well
Yeah.
for a bronze card, but I can't trust the specialist roles right now. So next up, Minnesota Twins getting some love. Again, stamina's low. This is kind of your well-rounded pitcher. How do you think he fits into the brunch and into the 5L?
Well, 5L, pretty good. You should probably draft him in the 5L. You know that I like these very well-rounded pitchers that are not heavy on one stat and then bad on two others. I really like those green pitchers. But with the control against the lefties, I'm not sure. I mean, I think he's a good option to start, but in tournaments there's just too much competition for him to break through into the starting rotation, and he's not such a great not such a great bullpen piece. So that is probably why I will leave him off my roster completely, because he won't make my starting rotation. And as a bullpen guy, I will have better guys too.
Right.
I might put him in for Dallas Braden. That would be somebody. But the difference there, of course, is Dallas is lefty. And he does not have that problem that he has, that control issue at one side, at the lefties or on the righties. Yeah. He has a little bit of home run. The home run suppression is a little bit lower, and the PBL is a little bit lower against righties, but not so low that it will get into below the 60s or something like that, like it is with the control with Berrios. So yeah, Braden does not have the stuff, but with everything else, I think I would rather have him as a lefty in there than Berrios as a righty.
Right. And again, Cone, when you look at Cone, he's kind of similar too in terms of that splittiness versus control, lefty and versus righty. So, but he's better at those other four categories than Berrios here. So you're getting a weaker Cone basically that's a little bit better against the lefties. So if you're not using Cone, again, you're probably not using this pitcher here.
Yeah, I don't have Cone on my brunch buns right now either.
Again, 5L, I have no problem drafting him. As you said, lead block, put him in the bullpen. I don't trust him as a starter, though, because of that 57 versus a lefty.
In the 5L, I don't have problems with him starting.
Really?
That's okay. Yeah. With those iron players in there, I don't have a problem with that.
If I did, I would make sure he's in the starting lineup between two guys with high stamina, because I hate having two low stamina guys back to back, because then your bullpen's getting a lot of work 2 games in a row. So if I could surround him with the 2 high stamina guys,
yeah,
maybe I'd put him in. But for me, I'd probably put him in the bullpen with that control and with that 62 stamina. Rosie Ryan, 1922. We're talking 102 years ago. Oh, how time flies. Now, this of the 3 cards is, of the 3 we've shown, it's probably the best, slightly, but that stamina again crushes you. So? And unless you're playing a home run park, I don't think I use him as a starter. Just that pitcher BABIP's too low.
Do you really think this is the best of those 3 pitchers?
Depending on the park. If it's like the 1990s, he's the best of those pitchers because he has that home run suppression. If it's a modern era, probably it's going to be Berrios. Well, I still think he's the best of the 3 because all the others have a glaring weakness somewhere, and that's against the left-handed batters. So as a starter, he's my favorite of the 3. But he's not, by no means, he's not meta or close to it, because that poor stamina, the pitcher BABIP, and again, it really depends on the ballpark and the era that we're playing in. but
Yeah,
I don't use them.
I think that's exactly what you said. He's very ballpark dependent. If you use him or not, ballpark and era dependent. Even if you go later in the 80s and 70s, I wouldn't use him. He would be, even though that he's such an old guy, he's basically more a modern pitcher.
Yeah.
More suited to face the modern guys. Tacklenet says, "Can someone explain how the 1985 aspect affects the game?" Well, we're there in the defensive era, and the thing is that if you looked at the numbers from that era, a lot less home runs were hidden in that time because if we can look that up, a lot less hits, a lot less home runs, uh, um, more focus on BABIP than on power. So if you have that extreme home run suppression, it's not that there weren't home runs, but there weren't like mass home runs hidden there. So you do not need that extreme home run suppression. You would rather have the control and BABIP more higher in that era. And
Yeah.
so our different eras have different things what you have to look for.
Yeah, and let me bring that up, D Block, because there are still some new players to the game, and this is one of the most important screens that you can screenshot. I'm going to take us both off the screen here.
Yeah.
Feel free to screenshot this, folks, because if you're just getting into tournaments, and again, this could completely change for OTP 25 if they revamp everything. But for now, this is kind of what you want to look at in terms of pitching for the different eras. And credit goes out to Aster31, Extoforas, Follow Durden for coming up with this back in, I think, OOTP 21. Different eras. When you go in and you play the base game, you choose your different era here on the top right-hand corner. That shows you the time period. And then based on that time period, this is kind of what's recommended for your pitching staff. How many starters? It's either 1, 2, 3, or 5. No era requires kind of 4 starters. Doesn't mean you can't use 4. It just, you don't have to have 4 specific for an era. The pitch counts, what you can expect in terms of their fatigue kicking in, and then your bullpen, how many bullpen arms you use. So for the 1980s, which is the defensive era, as D Block mentioned, you're looking at 5 starters. They can probably throw 120 to 145 pitches, and you use your bullpen 5 or 6 guys. So that's why 10 or 11 pitchers are common for the 1980s. Hope that helps their tactile neck. But yeah, great question there. And like I said, when you're entering tournaments, always look at the year of the settings. It'll tell you modern era, which most of them are, compared to, the golden years. Completely different in terms of the pitching staff that you're going to use. I still enter dead ball tournaments where managers have 12 pitchers. And it's like, why? They don't understand the era. And understanding the era absolutely can make your gameplay more successful. I think you'd agree with that, D Block.
Yeah, definitely. And what Sporo says here, the era is the meal, the park is the seasoning. That is exactly true. You first look at the era on what is usually needed for the era, and the park can offset that sometimes, but usually it's just the icing on the cake there.
Absolutely. And I always look at the era first, and then I'll look at the ballpark. And if it's close to 1.00 for BABIP and home run, I don't really pay attention to that. I only pay attention if there's a huge extreme. If the home runs is like 0.85, then I consider that quite a bit in terms of the cards. I don't want my Dave Kingman or my Mark McGuire necessarily in a ballpark where there's not many home runs. So yeah, hope that helps there, Tactile. Warbot in general, if you don't know the rules of the game, it's hard to win. Yeah. If you don't know the eras and how ballparks work, it makes it more difficult for sure. Okay, next step. So In terms of the three starting pitchers in bronze, none that D Block and I are probably going to use in the brunch. However, there are a couple we might throw in the bullpen in a 5L situation. And then we have Rod Beck. This was the last card shown today on Sporer's Stream. Again, definitely a bullpen guy, stamina of 15. I think Sporer mentioned the highest control for a bronze guy. I think that's what he said, or close to it.
Second highest, yeah. Mm.
So here's the opposite of who is that reliever that's all stuff and not much else? His name escapes me right now. Chat, help us out. Who is the reliever that has big cliff? The big Lee Smith, right? Lee Smith, I think.
Lee Smith, yeah.
Yeah, has a lot of stuff. Edwin Diaz, I think, as well.
Yeah, both.
See, we're not used to this, D Block. We're not used to throwing guys in with all this control, because for so much of the cycle, we haven't had high control guys. So this is new to us. This is an experiment on, will they be effective? What is your opinion on?
Well, I actually do that with in iron. I do have run Highball Wilson or Carmen Hill, which are 4 iron cards, high control pitchers, as my stoppers, and I have had very good success with them. That there were basically the others, of course, used the burn card, for example, which has a lot of stuff, a lot of PBAB, but low control. Other cards like that, but I have had a lot of success with guys who have for iron, for example, a lot of control there, and a decent PBAB, not the highest PBAB, not the blue PBABs we are used from those guys like the burn, but a decent PBAB and a decent home run suppression, not the highest, but kind of like what I said, those green guys. And with that control, I would definitely try him out. He is, if you you had the what was his name? The closer for Kansas City, who was with Pittsburgh too.
Wade Davis?
No. Before that, he was the closer before the David guys. He was with Kansas City. Then he was with. I just had the name, but I forgot it. No. I forgot it. He was kind of like the opposite of all the other closers, but he had like 2 or 3 All-Star games with that, and was not Chapman. It was way before. It was like in the 10s and 2008 to 2011 or something like that.
Okay.
And then he went to Pittsburgh, and that was a total butt for him in Pittsburgh.
All right.
Man, you're getting old when you can't remember those names. Soria. Soria, exactly.
Okay.
He was never somebody who would blow somebody away in the closer role. He had basically some of those ratings there. High control, high PBAB, not big stuff, not big home runs, but he just got you out. And I like those. I usually like those, maybe because of my Kansas City affiliation there. But I will definitely try this road back out. Instead of the normal big time power guys, the big time stuff guys as closer. Definitely will try him out. Wish we would have gotten earlier, so it would have had more time with him.
Well, and here's a card for Pop Stongoria and Ezra Denny and all the San Francisco Giants fans out there. You got your potentially top-end closer now in the bronze tournament. So we'll be back, D-Block. We're on a break here. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Go grab some water. Go refresh your voice there a little bit. We'll be back in 2 minutes. All right, we're back. Thanks everyone for hanging around here on this Tuesday. D Block, don't cut the D Block Dragon with me today. And we have fun talking about the new cards that come out at the lower levels and how we apply them to a couple of specific tournaments that we're in. Right now, we're focusing on the Bronze Brunch, the Daily Bronze Brunch, and the 5L, Laptop Pound Lower Level Leisure Lounge. And speaking of the Bronze Brunch, synchronicity. When we were on with the round table, it was D Dempsey and I in the final of that round table. And now today just happens to be that I squeak into the final here, this time not against D Dempsey, but against Jack Phoenix for the Bronze Brunch. And finally a 5-game series. And so that has forced my pitchers. Every pitcher now has pitched at least one inning. Ken Hill, my number 5 guy, 8 2/3 in his start, gets the win. So
you might want to check out your Castillo. He has a snowflake.
Yeah, he's got a snowflake, Castillo, and that might be a good thing to discuss for new players too. D Block, if you're micromanaging and you come across hitters or pitchers that do have this snowflake, which means they're ice cold, what can you do with them? Because right now he's the only guy at 100% for me. So I kind of have to let it ride. I don't really have another option. I guess I could let's look in the bullpen.
Whitey Ford has 100%.
Yeah. So if a guy is running cold for you, do you swap him out for a game?
No? Definitely. Not definitely out for it. Not only for a game, just get him out of there. Okay. You cannot afford to have him blow especially somebody like Castillo that you're actually banking on giving you wins. He's not the number 5 guy. He's your number 1 guy there. And you cannot afford to have him in there.
So we'll try that out. We'll put Whitey Ford in. We'll put Luis Castillo in a middle relief role here,
and also not give him not in high level situations, because you don't want him to touching the ball right now in any way.
Yeah,
not in the final.
I agree with you. I find that works more than not. Especially with hitters. If hitters are cold, force bench them for a day or even a couple days, and they tend to recover very quickly, and they go from a snowflake to a flame. Yeah.
With hitters, it's different. With pitchers, no. If you have a snowflake, you get that snowflake. You get rid of that snowflake in the bullpen, but not in a starting rotation.
Who would have thought that D Block would be on the stream talking about snowflakes? And we got 2 feet of snow a couple of nights ago, so there's a lot of snowflakes around here in Canada. Okay, we'll keep an eye on that. And regardless, there's 5 games maximum left in the tournament, so Castillo won't see another start anyway. It's going to be Cliff Lee, who's 5-0, Messersmith. All the other pitchers are performing well. Maybe Sonny Gray. 6.23 ERA. Might consider, if that snowflake disappears from Castillo, maybe we put him back in for Sonny Gray. We'll see. Always fun when you get to the finals.
What you could do right now, of course, is if you know that you want to get the Sonny Gray out of there, take one of those starters that you have and force bench them too, so that they get to that 100%. You know that this guy, I think the David Cohn, he looked like he would just need 1 day of rest and he would be at 100%. If you do that, force bench him there, then you can use him in game 3 as a starter for Sonny Gray if you want to.
No, that's a very good point too. And in fact, let's go and do that and just show these new people. Again, D Block and I aren't modelers. We don't, go and pour over a lot of stats. We go on intuition. We go on kind of watching games and see how games play out over a short period of time. And we look at the back of the card. As Warbot always says, look at the back of the card, not the front of the card. Ignore the 69 rating overall and look at the individual ratings. So you're talking about David Cohn here. And right now, Cohn is at 62%, 38%. Who else? Jonas Gaines. He's a little bit more rested. So maybe we take a Jonas Gaines and we go to game strategy and we force bench him for 1 day so that he doesn't pitch, maybe even 2 days. Make sure he's completely rested. And so now if we do get to a game 4 situation, we can bring him in for Sonny Gray if we're micromanaging. So that's something you might want to do if you see these snowflakes, cold players, or a guy that's not pitching well for you, especially if you're in the finals. I mean, it's do or die now. No use in, well, I got another round to fix this. No, this is it. This is it. So we'll see how that plays out. So one question I would have, if I was in chat and I was saying, D Block, you said you like this Rod Beck and you would use him because of control. But on the other hand, in iron, you use a guy like Mitch Williams as your stopper.
Right now, and I have, like I said, I have used Highball Wilson and Carmen Hill there, and I've had a lot of success.
Yeah,
it's not like you that it's only that one shape that will give you the success.
Right, but, and I think that's it's important to point out that you can have success with opposite ends of the control here, high control or low control, for your stopper and closer, especially if they have high stuff.
I think the stuff is high enough for the back card that he still is not somebody like was it the Dallas Braden, for example, who really does not strike anybody out, who really needs to see with that 39, there's 40 and 38 stuff there. He will not strike out anybody. You're lucky if you get 2 strikeouts per game. That is so he needs to have other ways to get people out of there. With that Rod Beck card, his stuff is still high enough that he will get the occasional strikeout, and that means that if we are in a normal game, in the real life, that hitters have to have that on their mind, that he can strike you out. It's not very likely, but he can strike you out. And I'm always intrigued with those middle strikeout numbers, how they're affected in the game here. And I think they're actually pretty positively affected, especially with that extremely high control. And the pitcher, if they have the pitch around high for this guy too, then he will have strikeouts, even though this stuff is not that high.
Yeah, and again, if you're new to the chat, I see Croyston. Thank you, Croyston, for the follow. If you're new to OOTP, say hi, and if you have questions, ask, because if we don't know the answers, there are a lot more smarter people in the chat than us that might have some answers for you.
And just Safari has a question there with how if I micro a lot, how often do I use openers? I don't use openers a lot, mainly because of what Leo Ramos says. It's very restricted on the on the era of the modern era, and that is with the specialists, for example. You don't in the modern era, because of the three out rule. You don't have to worry about the specialists, because they have to face 3 batters anyhow before they can get out of there. In earlier areas, that's not the case. So that is actually something you could use. Although I have not really seen that the AI manager is making a good use of that. That in earlier areas that he could bring him in for just 1 pitcher.
I only use openers, of course, in the modern eras. If I look at my opponent's roster and I know it dominates me, I'll use an opener just to kind of take a shot in the dark, throw a dart at the board, and my roster's not as good, so I'm going to try and fool him a little bit or her by putting openers in. And otherwise, if the rosters are fairly comparable, I don't use openers either. I don't know. I haven't really mastered how to properly use them. And confirmed by Sporer. So there you go. The front of the card does matter. There's some extra juice in there if you have a card with 69. That explains Cliff Lee. Well, Sporer, Dave Stieb has to be a 69 next year. Juice him up a bit. Come on, buddy. We both love him. So there you go. No, he's just having some fun with us. And Warbot says, but snowflakes aren't predictive. No, they're not. And each one is unique. No two snowflakes are exactly alike, just like PT cards. I don't think we have two cards that are exactly alike. They are snowflakes. Well, let's do some live results here, D Block, because you said I should put in and replace a snowflake. And you said put in Whitey Ford. Well, Whitey Ford pitched 7 innings, gave up 1 earned run, which was a home run, and he didn't get the win, but he pitched a heck of a game. And we won that game by a score of, go back to the results here, 3-2. And Jared Burton, who is my stopper, he comes in and gets the win in a high leverage situation. So who would have known? Who knows what would have happened if we used that snowflake, right?
Very likely you didn't win this game.
So there you go, chat. Live proof there. We made D-Block made a decision for me live on the spot. Get him out of there. And notice now on Castillo, still got the snowflake, but we're not using him in any kind of situation. He didn't pitch in that game. Maybe a couple days off. In fact, you know what? We don't want you pitching at all. We're gonna bench you for a couple days here. Where's that bench? There it is. 2. Now, will this work every time, D-Block? No. No. We're not saying this is 100% true, but it can work. At least.
Yeah, you give you if you're pitching, if you let a snowflake pitcher pitch, you're gonna lose the game. In 90% of the time, you will lose the game. Very simple. And at least there's a reason why you did put the other pitcher in the bullpen and not in the starting lineup. Of course there is, but at least you're giving yourself a chance to win. With a snowflake pitcher, you're not going to win. Very simple.
Yeah. And Andy, D-Block doesn't stream till Sunday again. He's got 5 days. 5 days to rest his vocal cords. No, just kidding. D-Block, if you've had enough, just let me know. We can we'll speed things up a little bit and talk less about each specific card. So let's talk about, just let me know if you're
I will.
if you're hurting. Are you still okay?
I'm okay. I
Okay.
feel just the same as at the beginning.
Okay. Good.
Doesn't get much worse, I guess.
All right. So we talked about the bronze pitchers. Let's take a look at the iron. I think there was only maybe 1 or 2 iron pitchers. So for the iron dinner plans, which is the other tournament that D-Block and I like to focus on stream, again, no LEs in this one. This is set, I believe, D-Block in the 50s, correct? 1950s? I think it's in the 50s.
56.
Okay, 56. So here's a case where you can use 3 or 4 pitchers. I use 4 simply because I think 1 or 2 of these guys have low stamina. I think Means has low stamina maybe. So I use 4 there. D-Block runs 3. And you can see he's using Bannister, Hurst, and Tobin. I'm using Hurst, Means, Hacker, and Tobin. I've got Bannister as my stopper. So it's kind of one of those Cliff Lee situations again where you can use him as a starter, you can use him as a stopper. I'm using him successfully right now as a stopper. You've got Mitch Williams. You mentioned Carmen Hill, Highball Wilson, Clobberence, probably in a low leverage situation because he's more there for his bat. And then you got both Black.
He can pitch.
Oh, he can pitch?
He can pitch. He's not a Jimmy Ryan.
Oh, okay. You got both Joe and Bud Black, and I've got both of them as well. I've got Mitch Williams. I don't trust him enough to be my stopper, but I do have him in the bullpen. And I'm trying out that Ray Pote card that came out recently as well, just to see how he does. But we're pretty similar. Just again, kind of a mix and match. I finally took out high ball Wilson for Ray Pote. But otherwise, yeah, Wilson's another good choice there. So we only did get 1, 2, we got 3 iron. Are they good enough to get into this tournament here? Icebox Chamberlain. What you say?
I would say no.
Because of the control again?
Yeah, and the rest is not good. Is not high enough. I think
Yeah.
the home run suppression. Again, we are in the 50s. It's home runs are being hit, but it's not that extremely important to have like an 86. If this is not that big a deal, the PBAB is much more concern for me. That the PBAB is not high enough, and the control is. If this would have been September, I would have said that's a pretty high control. But we have a lot of more pitchers now that have higher control than that, and no, I'm sorry, he doesn't break into my starting lineup, and he's not good enough to be he doesn't have the shape to be a bullpen guy.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
he's not.
Okay.
He's not going
We
to be on
agree
my
on the icebox. He might be in my kind of 15 to 20 range, maybe for
about that.
pitchers. Yeah.
Certainly somebody you could draft in the 5L.
Yes.
In the later rounds, if you're especially if you had trouble getting bronze pitchers as starters, then he could be somebody you could consider there, or you should consider then there. But
Interesting.
Not really.
This Nolasco card is an interesting shape because that control teases you a little bit. That, hey, he's got really good control. I mean, we looked at a bronze Beck that had a lot of control too, but Beck was good in a few other things. This one, low stuff and low pitcher BABIP. Again, we're not used to high control iron players until lately. I still try him out, I think, in the 5L. I don't think I'm confident enough to put him on my roster here, though, because I don't see a guy that I want to take out, except maybe Peretta. But Peretta's good other than stuff.
And Pastor is good. Yeah, I don't see him replacing any of those guys in a tournament.
Yeah, I agree. Again, in a cap situation, we don't play caps, but for a 44, maybe you gamble on that control for a 44 and spend 4 points. But but
caps usually you would have to ask like Chesafari, low iron guys. I'm not sure how is that, but I guess the PBAB will still the PBAB combined with that low stuff will probably not be enough.
Yeah,
to play even low iron.
Too dangerous for me. Walt Terrell is the third one. Here's a cap card again because it is a 40. This might be our best 40 pitcher with that pitcher BABIP, especially.
Especially against the lefties. Huh?
Yeah. Well, no, pitcher. Yeah. Here's that again. Just awful stuff. Low control. But it's a 40 card. What do you expect? Because of that high pitcher BABIP, everything else has to be low if he's going to stay at a 40. Otherwise, he's higher. So, again, I don't play him on my regular irons. Absolutely not. Just not enough there. As a cap card, of course, I'm going to take him. He's free. He's a Detroit Tiger. Why wouldn't you take a Detroit Tiger that's free? But I don't think...
as a cap card, I take him, definitely.
Yeah.
I think... the Nitkowski and Ujir and those guys, he's right in there. And I think that PBAB is just too, if you have to take a 40, that is really tasty PBAB there. And hope that you do not face righties that can hit the ball out of the block. And but if you have to pitch him anyway, it doesn't matter. If you have to pitch a 40, he's going to pray anyway. So.
Cap card for sure. Otherwise, he doesn't find room on any of my iron rosters. Okay, let's go into turbo mode here and speed things up a little bit when we talk about our hitters. We didn't get hitters at all positions today, so we can only kind of focus on the cards that did have positions. We got a couple catchers in bronze. We got a shortstop, I believe, and a lot of outfielders, especially right field, that we can focus on.
Yeah.
Here's what D Block uses, and again, we'll save his voice a little bit. You guys can kind of see them on screen. This is his versus left and versus right. This is the iron we're talking about, the iron dinner plans. Again, you definitely in iron and bronze, you want to platoon any opportunity you can, because those lower level cards are made to platoon, a lot of them. So not many cards you can play both ways. And especially if you're in an early era where you can cut down on your pitchers, there's no excuse for not platooning almost every single position. And you can see based on D Block's lineup here, other than maybe one or two guys, you don't see doubles. Mondesi, you have twice, and Maine, right? That's it.
That should be it. Yeah.
Yeah. My lineup here, you see my iron dinner plans. A few of my results at the bottom in late in some of the latest tournaments. Haven't won it in a while, but I've come second a few days ago, 5th to 8th. Again, 64 team tournament. And again, I run a lot of platoons. You'll see a lot of similar names. I am trying out the Wade Boggs against the righties as a 59 iron card. I still use the Tim Beckham. I still use the Biggio. But other than that, there's a lot of similar names that you and I are using here. I finally took out the Bones Eli, and I'm using Mondesi specifically at shortstop to make room for Boggs. And I took out Jake Lamb. Jake Lamb is one of my reserve guys with Severid. So pretty similar lineups in terms of what we're running. Clobberance, we're both running him at first base versus the lefties. Gamble is there. DeLon is great against the righties. And otherwise, yeah, it's kind of Boggs and Beckham and Biggio. The three Bs, the killer Bs for me. And for you, it's Lamb, Ramirez, and Eli, I think, are the three changes there. So I think there was only one that we have to look at, D Block. Only one new hitter. And it's a second baseman, Art Howe. We are currently I'm using Hairston Jr. and Beckham, and you're using Mondesi exclusively. This does not replace Mondesi.
No, it does not.
No. And it does not replace the guy on mute. No. And it's a no DH league. So that's another factor. You new players out there, if you're playing no DH league, guys like this don't really help you because they have bad defense. You're not playing them at second, maybe at third if you don't value third defense. But with no DH, he's really got nowhere to play. He just doesn't fit into iron. 5L doesn't have DH. Same thing. So there's not a lot of room for him to play unless you want him exclusively as a backup and you're in your iron rounds and you need a second baseman. Well, yeah, go ahead, take him. But otherwise, D Block, he doesn't play.
No, at third base, I mean, I run the Jake Lamb still, and then I have the Pagliarulo. Excuse me. The Pagliarulo has, of course, no power at all, but he has a bat of God there, and he's much better than this Art Howe. He has a little bit of power, but that's about it, and which is better than the Pagliarulo. And Jake Lamb is just better, so he's not going to fit in there. And at second base, I would rather probably even play the Beckham over him.
Yeah.
Than the Mondes, than the Howe. So no, I don't think he's going to play with me. Definitely a good draft in the 5L, but not in tournaments for me. At least not in the dinner plans.
And we both like Hairston. especially as a utility guy for you. Like
Yeah.
you can play so many positions really well. So he's not going to take out that good utility guy. And like I said, I replaced Jake Lamb with Boggs. If anyone in chat plays Iron, I just did this very recently. How is Wade Boggs playing? Are you playing Wade Boggs against the righties, and how is he doing for you? So I'm curious how that card is doing. I have to change my lineup a little bit. He should be hitting number 4. He should be hitting probably a little higher. Okay. Well, that's it for Iron. Just one hitter. So we can move on to the meat of the sandwich here, which is the bronze hitters. Here's what D Block uses. And you can take a look at the lineup. Anything specific you want to mention? Who have been your more recent changes since the roundtable?
Well, I've been trying out the Rugden Odor at second base and play him both ways, actually. And then, of course, I have the Eduardo Escobar versus lefties at third base. And then I'm switching basically between Jed Lowry and Eric Hinsky versus righties at third base. And because I have that, I use the Estrella at left field. And then, of course, I have the new cards. There's my sexy Rexy Hutler card at left field against the lefties. He's just awesome there. And Justin Ruggiano at right field. Ruggiano is just an awesome card. Just love him there at right field against the lefties.
And you're not playing, sexy Rexy just because you requested him, are you, D Block?
No, because he's, in my opinion, the best left fielder against lefties out there.
Because Warbot, when he gets his Tony Suck card, he's playing him regardless of how good he is. He's going to throw him in
there. If he gets his card, he better play him.
He better. Tony Suck, 39. He'll be the first 39 rated card in the game. So this is what I'm using in my hitting lineup. Again, you can see a lot of familiar names, maybe just different in the order. I've got Sexy Rexy against the lefties. You've got him going against the lefties as well, I think. Yep.
But a little later down at second base.
Bogarts is a must-have. You got to play Bogarts. And I agree with you. I love that Ruggiano card. One of my favorite recently released cards. Like you gotta get that card, guys. I don't know what he's going for in the card shop, but if you play bronze, 2 of the newer cards you got to get is that Ruggiano and probably the Brett Barbary as well. It's pretty good. I've got Barbary in there. I've got Estrella. My favorite 5L card is Estrella. Always does well. Bob Horner. You're not taking out Bob. Goodman, I still use. Brock Holt. I think maybe you've finally taken him off or not used him in a starting role. Hinsky, I love that card. I still use Sweeney, and then Kenji as my catcher one way. And I might have to consider swapping out John Jaso. He might be my next move out. Who do you use? You use Kenji both ways? Who's your backup catcher?
Right now, I use Kenji both ways right now, yeah. But that might change.
And who do you have backing up?
Depends. I either have Pagnotti or I have Perez in there.
Oh, right. Perez, I think, is who I saw, yeah.
One of those two. Or sometimes I use the Hank Conger, too. I mean, it doesn't really matter to me much. I want a good somebody with a good catcher ability in there as my backup. All 3 have that threshold for me. The Perez card has the best bat of those 3. The best power bat. The Pagnotti is more of a BABIP guy. Conger does not have a bat, but all 3.
We both agree, though. Kenji's, we both agree, is the best catcher. I mean, at least for now. Before we looked at today's cards, it was Kenji. And again, DH, there's been some discussion on your stream when I watched it on Sunday and other streams about the DH penalty. I can't remember exactly what you said, but I think it's pretty similar. What I think is I don't really care about the penalty. Like I do try and put power guys in DH anyway, but I'm not going to focus about a 3% penalty in a short tournament and how might that impact a player. So, I'm not going to put Hira at second base and get errors because of the penalty he might have at DH. Was that kind of your line of thinking too?
That is my line, and I mean that's if you're using the line that I seen was that they used the Bob Horner card in at DH because of they wanted to use the JSO and Dale Murphy platoon there. That would be much better instead of a platoon, the Keston Jura and somebody else. Then for me, it's the Estelela with his rights against the DH there. That would be better. I rigorously disagree. If you do not have Keston Jura against righties in your lineup, that just means that you have the best bet against righties not in your lineup. And that wouldn't be anything I would consider.
And we are 100% in agreement.
Or you play him at second base, but of course,
right.
We all know about that.
And I've got exact same. I've got Estelela against the lefties. I got Hira against the righties. I got Brock Holt playing second. You have Odor because you're trying him out playing second. But otherwise, yeah, we're kind of on the same line of thinking. And before we look at the new cards, let's give you an update on the Bronze Brunch, the tournament that we're looking at, that we're featuring right now. And D-Block, we did it with your managerial. You're my pitching coach. You came in and you said, Lap, take the snowflake out. Well, that won game one. And then we went on to win the next two games.
Oh, you got another snowflake now.
What's that?
You got another snowflake now. The Sonny Gray we talked about.
Oh. I mean, 3-2, close game that we won with Whitey Ford. We just scored in the 8th and 9th inning. And then in game two, it was a 2-1 score. We scored in the bottom of the 10th. So those, like when I play you, the games could go either way, like the PTCS. And then game three, it was like, we don't want to have to decide if we're bringing Louis Castillo back in. So we're just going to blow them out. 18-4. And look at that. Synchronicity, take a drink. Look who the player of the tournament was. When D-Block says you don't keep the best batter versus righties, you don't keep him out. Tournament MVP, finals MVP, semifinal MVP. Don't listen to anyone else. Well, you can listen to them, but listen to us more for this tournament. Keep Keston Hira in there. He is the best batter versus right-handers. Forget that I. Don't worry about the avoid Ks. Yes, he'll strike out from time to time. He had 10 strikeouts in the tournament, but he also had 27 hits, 14 RBIs, and hit 370. Small sample size, I know. And Messersmith went the distance, 9 innings. Twice he went the distance and picked up wins both times. So I still have faith in Andy Messerschmidt. Still have faith in him. So there you go. Perfect. I mean, couldn't have worked out any better. We're talking about this tournament, showing you the cards that we use, and the players are performing like we said they should perform. Looking at the stats, I mean, depending on what stat you value, Hira again hit 370. The Brock Holt hit 359. Rexy hit 310. Estelela 338. 303 for Barbary. 351 for Bogarts. 355 for Ruggiano. Weren't these cards that we said you got to get, right? Right? We're not making this up. We're not picking names out of a hat. In this tournament, they performed well. And I know some people have moved on from Goodman. He's still my right fielder. at least up until today's cards where we got a lot of right fielders to look at. So there you go, folks. Dr. Dynastic, take that, buddy. Take that if you're listening. I seen him show on screen yesterday. I've played him in the finals of something. It might have been the dead ball to golden years, and he beat me in that. So I know he's been doing some bronze brunch building. Don't copy me, Dr. Dynastic. I'm watching you. No copying my roster. And if it's not me, it's D Block or D Dempsey or some of these other great teams. Tessuigi's been improving a lot in bronze. So yeah, that one's for you, Danny D. Smith Jr. Thank you for gifting the sub to Leo Remus about a half hour ago. Okay, let's look at the catchers, D Block. We got McCann and Ferguson.
I think.
Who do you like better of the two?
No, McCann, definitely.
Yes.
He
In a
is,
no DH league, you're not playing this guy. Like, don't even consider Ferguson. Catcher ability's poor. Doesn't offer much other than walks a few times. And I know Charles says, walks are important, getting on on base any way you can. If he had higher catcher ability, like in the 100 range, yeah, then he's in consideration a little bit. But of the two, very splitty. Question is, against the righties, does he have a spot in your lineup?
Against the righties, yes, but not against the lefties.
Right.
I would probably pair him with Perez.
So Kenji comes out, or is he your permanent backup now?
No, I probably would. Kenji is probably out. Probably. Yeah. I think I would probably pair McCann rather with Perez than with Kenji.
Really? See, I think I can't remember what Kenji. Are you able? Do you have your screen open right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can share it. Just
bring up the Kenji for us.
I will.
Oh, Dr. Dynastic, was it the bronze brunch you were showing yesterday? Well, yes, you inspired me, Dr. Dynastic, by beating me in the final. I said, we got to take today's. And so we took today's. Don't know how far Dr. Dynastic got in that one, but there we go.
That's the Kenji. And I can put there, compare. Catcher, Perez. There you go.
And so this new catcher, what was he used better against lefties? Let's see. Righties. McCann is better against righties. Okay. So who's better against lefties here?
First of all, defensively. Defensively, it is Perez.
Yeah, Perez
Kenji is not that much worse.
Can you go back to the batting ratings again?
Yes. There you go.
Okay, well, it comes down to me again, era ballpark. Anything 1990 or later, I'm going Perez. Anything earlier than that, I'm probably going Kenji.
Yeah, it's probably right.
Yeah, I think in the 80s, this bronze brunch is in the 80s. I think I'm still going Kenji. Just with that BABIP, I think I'm still using. But it's a close call. 5L is in the 80s as well. I take either of them if they come up.
Yeah.
Honestly. But in one where we control our roster, I think I'm going Kenji and the new Brian McCann. But it's close. It is
funny, isn't it, that I'm that you're taking the BABIP guy and I'm taking the Power I guy?
Right? What's going on with that? Usually clip that. D Block's not taking the BABIP guy. He just performs so well usually for me that I can't take him out.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't think you can go either way. I don't think any choice is a bad choice. If you're going Perez, you're probably going to have success, and if you're going with Kenji, you're going to have success too. So it's you get basically you have your lefty A and lefty B guy that are basically any given tournament, one or the other can be better.
And chat, give it up for Dr. D in his interview last night. It's not easy, conducting a first interview on behalf of OOTP. And, not only is he a fan of the game and a fan of Marcus, and, he had some great questions and pulled it off wonderfully. I don't know if it was on everyone's end, but did you find, D-Block, that Marcus's microphone was really echoey? Or did you not have any really issues with that? I just found that on Mark, Dr. Dynastic came in wonderfully, nice and clear, but I found Marcus was kind of a little echoey, like it was in a small room or something like that. But great job there, Dr. Dynastic.
But yeah, I didn't really pay attention.
Oh, it was a webcam mic. Oh, okay. So tomorrow, again, check it out on Twitch, 8 p.m. Eastern. Interview with the devs, I would imagine. Maybe Matt Arnold with the franchise mode. Okay, so you're going McCann, Perez.
Yes.
Okay. There we go. So, it'd be interesting comparing data. Sorry?
With Dr. Dynastic, I bet. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I bet he was very fortunate that he had me on the stream before, so he basically knew how Northern Germans react on the mic.
You were his test subject. You're his German test, his little guinea pig. Okay, now I know how Germans react. Yeah, okay.
No, not Germans, Northern Germans. We are different than the Southerners. We are a lot different.
Yeah, the hair music lessons. I agree. Maybe that was a sound issue there. They couldn't manage getting around the hair and bouncing off walls, things like that. Captain Kegleg gifting out a couple community subs, and D-Block, Captain Kegleg often visits your stream and Dr. Dynastics, and he's everywhere. I swear he's cloned. There's a clone of Captain Kegleg. He's so supportive of all of us streamers. And Definitely. Also thank you to Sundown_GT, who helped me reach my goal of 1,400 followers. It took a while because most people that play the game are already following all of us, but 1,400 followers, raise your glasses to Sundown GT for reaching that milestone. And Captain Kegleg and Danny D. Smith Jr., thank you as well. Okay, we got to move along because we got to get to Dr. Dynastic very shortly here. So we agree McCann over Ferguson. Third base, we have a couple options at third. We've got Larry Gardner and Floyd Rayford. And right now at third, I'm using Hinsky and Horner, and you're using Hinsky and Escobar.
Yes.
Okay, haven't tried out Escobar yet. So here's the Gardner. Other than power, looks good.
I do have the Escobar on my screen if you want to just...
Okay.
This is the Escobar.
We're not getting rid of Horner, so Horner's out of the question.
Well, he's playing first. Both ways at first for me. So.
He's playing first for you, yeah.
So that's
Escobar.
Yeah, and he's playing against lefties against me, and they're against me for me. So, and you basically see that the Rayford is the better version of Escobar, probably. Yeah. Yes, the avoid Ks are a little. They are way down there for the Rayford. The I is even worse than the one that Escobar has against lefties, which is already pretty bad. And the get power is there, but I think I am going to use the Rayford now instead of the Escobar there.
Okay. Can you bring up the Hinsky?
Yeah.
Because for me, I haven't been using Escobar, so I probably wouldn't use Rayford. For me, it would come down to is is that first card we looked at. Let me bring it back up again. Is this better than Hinsky against the righties? 85, 79, 91. So you're losing power. 92 for gap power, 99, 94 I. So it's just like yours with Escobar. This is a better Hinsky, I think, if you're willing to give up some power. Arm 92. Hinsky's arm is at 69. So yeah, I think I'm going with, so you're going to replace Escobar and I'm going to replace Hinsky with Gardner. Sound fair?
Yeah, I haven't really looked at Hinsky and Escobar. I haven't compared them yet, but now that we have them here side by side, basically, yeah, I have a completely new third base lineup there in the future. So
you might be bringing in both of these guys then to replace Hinsky and Escobar. Yeah. So Cavacom, your Hinsky lasted for a fair little bit here over the last month or so. But I think it's time to move on, and Hinsky's going to come out of the lineup for.
And he's still usable if you want the power there. I mean, that's the thing with the Gardner; he does not have any power. But in eras, in more modern eras, I think I would still use the Hinsky, instead of the Gardner. But here in this when this tournament is, I'm using the Gardner and not the Hinsky. But in a modern setting, I would use the Hinsky.
And I, again, for those of you that are new to the game, the reason why we're saying that is because both tournaments we're referring to, the Bronze Brunch and the 5L, are 1980s. And in 1980s, power wasn't as big of a role as it was after the 1990s. And so defense, it's the defensive era. So more defense. And you look at Gardner's arm at third base at 92. Arm is the most important. Here, the arm of Hinsky is 69. So you're getting better defense and you're getting a better bat other than power. So I think it's an easy call. Okay, so that is our third bases. Interesting. You might try out both of those. And you know what's cool is it's 1985 card, and that's the year of the 5L is 1985. So maybe that's a sign. Bring them in there. One shortstop. And currently at short, who are we running here? I'm running Barbary and Bogarts, and you're running Barbary and Bogarts. It's going to be hard to move off of those two, but this guy, again,
I think Bogarts is gone for me.
You got him on the screen there?
Not yet, but in a second. Bogarts, there you go.
So there's Bogarts versus lefties.
Extreme BABIP, of course, with 118.
118 versus 93. Power's about the same. Void K's 117 extreme for Ryan.
Gap 123.
Gap power's higher and eyes higher. You know what? The only thing I would question is look at his defense at short, 79 range at short, whereas Bogarts, I guess, is not much different.
That's 82. That's not a big difference.
Yeah. All right, we agree. Ryan comes in for Bogarts against the lefties. And Bogarts, does he play? He only plays short, so this is benefits too because this guy can play second base.
Yeah.
Way to go, Spore. You're getting all these new meta cards in here. Well done. The last three cards we looked at seem to be cards that are going to immediately go into our 1980s lineup. Gardner, Rayford, and Ryan. Chicago Cubs, Cub fan Steve. Okay. Finally, we go to our right fielders. And again, let's take a look because some
now
of
we
these
have a
cards...
left fielder too.
Oh, do we?
Yeah, Moises.
Maglio. Oh, yeah. Moises there. Okay. So let's look at the right fielders first because Parker only plays right and same with Ordonez. So those will be easy to make a quick call here. Currently, right now, you're playing in right Abreu and Ruggiano, and I'm playing Abreu and Goodman. So Parker would go in versus lefties. So for me, he would match up against Ruggiano or Goodman. You can
Against
bring
Goodman,
those
he's
guys
better.
up. Goodman's better?
No, against Goodman, he wins.
Okay.
Against Ruggiano, he does not.
Okay.
I would say.
So there might be another move for me, taking out Goodman. His defense, though, Goodman is so good defensively. I don't know if I want to sacrifice that much, though, D-Block, in the 1980s.
Yeah, that's your prerogative.
Yeah.
Defense, schmefense.
Plus, that eye against lefties. How? He's so good everywhere against lefties, and all of a sudden his eye is no good? How?
Hey, I had my eye experience today with Perez. That's enough.
Can you bring up Goodman just so we can see? Because at first you talked me out of him, and now I'm thinking that I'm going to keep Goodman.
Okay. Right fielder. Eye control.
Or maybe go by defense if you have it there, fielding.
Yeah, that's probably the better choice.
There he is. Okay. Go. So against the lefties, let's go back and forth here.
That eye isn't that high.
Oh, compared to 30? That's high. That's like 2.5 times more. So BABIP is about the same.
Yeah, but yeah.
Gap power 94 versus Goodman's better in gap power.
I don't understand.
I'm keeping Goodman. Parker's just he's too flawed for me in defense and in eye. I think Goodman stays as my right fielder.
Do you want to know why the eye is so much lower? Why the BABIP is so much lower? Because he hits the home runs.
True.
Although they're not they're of course not walked, and then they're not in play.
Yeah.
That's why the BABIP is lower. But I'm telling you, he's going to get the same. He's going to basically it's the same bat than Goodman. If it's not hitting the home run, he will walk less. Yeah, of course, but he will hit a lot more home runs. So I think you're making a mistake there, not playing Parker, playing Goodman.
Okay, well, we'll compare notes. Anything but the 80s, I agree with you. But again, that 80s era, just less focus on power, more on defense.
Yeah, I think you're overestimating it here a little bit.
Okay.
Too much. But yeah, that's the good thing that hey, it doesn't happen too often that we disagree on the card there.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what brings great conversation. And I'm glad you're going to be able to test them out one way, and I'll test out the other guy the other way. And
definitely.
After a few tournaments, we'll get a good idea.
Think that the bat is basically the same. It's you chase the walks against the eye. That's the walks against the home runs. That's what you're basically trading there.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the two. The other one who was the other guy? Who was that other low power guy? Gardner was the other one that you were a little bit unsure about for third base because of the power. So yeah, it'd be fun to test them out. Ordonez, I think we would agree nowhere on the team, right? There's just, if you're only playing one right fielder, yeah, maybe you go with him, but
yeah, I have him. I have a big minus here for me. He's a 5L card, but that's it.
Come on, be more direct.
I love Maglio. I mean, in a way of a love-hate relationship, both with the White Sox and with the Tigers. If he would make a pure Maglio Adonis card against purely against the Royals, then he would be the best right fielder in the game. He would be a perfect
Blue.
card.
Yeah, blue everywhere. He would not be a bronze.
Blue everywhere.
All right.
Yeah.
So there's our first kind of big disagreement, or at least a difference in terms of the right fielders. Parker versus Goodman. We'll keep an eye on that and let you guys know. And again, it's just a very short sample size, but in today's tournament, how did Goodman do? Goodman, not a home run. He didn't have any home runs. He's got a very empty kind of average, like not a lot of doubles, not a lot of triples. He did hit 345. His fielding was positive. So yeah, not going to be a difference maker. I'm curious how many Goodmans were run in this tournament. Let's see. Well, quite a few. At least owned, not necessarily used. But be nice, yeah. All right. Cool. Let's run down the other outfielders here. We're going to do this in like 6 minutes or left. Moises Alou, left field. So again, I'm using in left field, I'm using Estelela and Ruggiano. You're using Estelela and Hudler. I don't think you're getting rid of either of them, but I could be wrong. I'm not getting rid of my left field.
Well, I'm definitely not getting rid of Rexy there. And no, Moises is worse than Estelela there. So no,
yeah.
He's probably not going to play.
Yep, try him out in the 5L if you want. Like to see Spore giving love to the Expos.
Yeah, he's a very good 5L card. Yeah,
yeah, because he can play all three outfield positions. So, and he's got some speed. So yeah, very good 5L card. Not so much for the Bronze Brunch. And finally, I think our last card here. We're almost done. Dr. D, so this is your 5 to 6 minute warning here. Will Myers, right fielder that can play center field. I don't think you'd trust him in center. He's got the really good error if you consider error.
Yeah,
I look at range and arm a lot more than error. We talked about the guys we use already. He doesn't replace any of those guys, D-Block.
No, he doesn't replace anyone.
Yeah, he just doesn't fit in there. He's a low bronze, so I guess if you play low bronze tournaments, but even then I would rather use. Yeah. Can you bring up we didn't bring up the Ruggiano card.
Okay. Let me get that one up.
Both of us love this card.
Ruggiano.
Oh. If you're not using him against the lefties, I mean, look at that. There's no comparison. And Spore juiced that 69, that's for sure, against the lefties. Oof, if you didn't know that was a 69, what would you have said this card was rating-wise overall?
I think there was a 74.
I'd even go even higher. I'd even say high 70s, low gold. Like,
yeah, the V-right numbers are just too low for that to be high silver, but a low silver definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Elap, is the 5L going to be in 25? No official confirmation. Strong likelihood it might not be the exact same format we're playing now, because at release there's only so many cards that come out. And depending on whether there's enough iron and bronze to make it work, if there are, it will. If there's not, there might be silver added to it. It might be a 5L with iron, bronze, and silver. But pretty good bet that there will be something coming out with release in terms of a similar format tournament. So yeah, really looking forward to that. But nothing official yet. So D-Block. What is your card of today's set? Which is the one that you look at and go, man, I can't wait to get that one in the lineup?
That McCann catcher.
McCann, right there. Okay. One more time, we'll kind of quickly go through and let you watch the VOD if you want more specifics. So again, the pitchers, there were no pitchers we were really extremely high on. There are a couple in the 5L that can play probably pretty well. For me, the Ryan and the Beck were probably the two best of the four pitchers. I think for you, the Beck is the one that stands out the most, D-Block.
Yeah, because
And
it's so
then,
unique.
yep. In iron, in terms of pitchers, again, maybe none really kind of jumped out as for iron. Unless you're playing a cap situation, then you'd obviously take this as a free card. For the hitters, only one iron hitter came out today. We're not going to use the Art Howe. We like who we're using currently at second base and third base in iron. But again, I'd have no problem taking him in the 5L. I think he can contribute.
It's not a bad card. It's just the competition is just too good. That's it.
Yeah,
but it's not a bad card.
Oh no, absolutely not. And then for our bronze hitters, McCann stands out above Ferguson. Gardner, I'm going to use Gardner. I'm going to replace Hinsky with Gardner versus the righties. You're going to probably replace Escobar with Rayford. So great couple cards there, Spore, in terms of improving kind of the meta. And then this card here, shortstop, you said, and I said, Bogarts is probably out
Bogarts is gone,
for this card here. So 3 for 3, Spore. And D-Block would say you're 4 for 4 because he likes the Dave Parker. I still like the Goodman. We're going to have some fun finding out how that card plays. And we don't think we're going to play Ordonez other than a 5L. I think he's a very good 5L card. And same with Moises Alou. Very good 5L card for that tournament. Will Myers doesn't really fit for us. We like who we have with Ruggiano or a Goodman or a Parker or our center fielders. And yeah, that is it. Well, D-Block, overall, very cool set today, right? A lot of cool cards to close out the treasure trove.
Definitely.
And the good news is there might be a few little shorter releases coming. So we might not be done quite yet with OOTP 24 content. Any closing comments you have?
No.
Save the voice. All right. Well, we will hopefully be back when Spore brings back the Tuesday Treasure Trove with a new set.
I would love to.
The new game. This has been fun. Thank you. It's too bad we didn't start doing this earlier because great mind to bounce things off of. Great streamer on Sundays. Hopefully you're going to start streaming some other days of the week. Is that in the plans in the future?
Probably.
Yeah.
But okay. We'll see what's happening.
All right. Well, D-Block, thanks for persevering. Thanks for being on. We'll catch you on your stream. Chat, give it up for Don't Cut the D-Block Dragon. Give him a follow if you haven't already. Catch you next time.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for enduring my voice, chat.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Whew. Okay. Spore, great set today. Great content. And like I said, might be a few more cards coming out over the next week or so. Little smattering. Nothing in terms of a big set. But Spore did say maybe, 2 cards here, 3 cards there. Well, we're going to send you over to Dr. Dynastic. Again, a big shout out, guys. Thank you again to the follows today, Croyston, Sundown_GT, and Tactile Necks. Thank you for the follows. Also, thank you to Danny D. Smith Jr. for gifting a sub to Leo Remus. And thank you, Captain Kegleg, for giving out a couple gift subs about a half hour ago. Ooh, back on Thursday. Lap versus chat in the base game. We'll see you then. Heading over to Dr. Dynastic. I'll take you right there very, very soon. Again, we're here for a good time, not a long time. So have a good time. Have a good time with these new cards. Let us know which cards you're playing, which cards are going to go into your tournaments. Hope to see you in Bronze and Iron and the 5L soon.
A very good friend of mine told me something the other day. I'd like to pass it on to you. I believe what he said to be true. He said we're here for a good time, not a long time. So have a good time. The sun can't shine every day, and the sun is shining in this rainy city, and the sun is shining. Oh, well, isn't it a pity? And every year has its share of tears, but every now and then it's gonna rain. We're here for a good time, not a long time. So have a good time. The sun can't shine every day.